Hi, my name is Laura. Welcome to My Mom's Dementia, My Insanity. It's a little slogan I came up with since I've been taking care of my mom. It just definitely fits my scenario and my life now. A lot of people have asked me when did I first notice that my mom had dementia. Actually, I noticed like 4 years ago. She'd been living on her own for 20, 25 years. And I would stop in and check on her. She loved her independency and make sure she had what she needed and things from the store and medication. And things were going along pretty well for quite a while. About 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago to be exact, I had gone in to check on her, and I noticed for a week or so that she was acting really silly, laughing an awful lot, which I realized after that dementia people with dementia, excuse me, I'm sorry I didn't say like that, do a lot of laughing, and that kind of helps cover up the fact that they don't understand what you're talking about, or they just feel, I guess, laughing hides the fact that they're having problems with their memory or understanding. She had started doing that a lot, and she had stopped taking a lot of her medication like it was prescribed. So I figured I would stop in and check on her more frequently at that point and call her every morning, remind her to take her medication, which I did. And that went on for a while, pretty good. And then I realized that her blood pressure was extremely high for a couple days in a row straight, and I'll never forget it. And it was on a Friday when I stopped in to see her, and she was lethargic. The place was a mess, which she usually does not keep a messy place. And she just looked like she didn't have herself together. I checked her medications and noticed she had taken all of her blood pressure medication. So, of course, I called 911 immediately, and I called poison control. And while I was waiting for 911 and following the instructions poison control was giving me, I realized that at that point she started vomiting. And fortunately, she must have just taken her medication. All of her pills came up. So that was good. Her blood pressure was really low at that point, of course. 911 came, and, we both, well, we did what we could to get her blood pressure up, and it worked pretty good. And I told him I would keep an eye on her. I brought her home with me that Friday evening, and I'm sitting there just looking at her, talking to her, and I gave her the remote control and the telephone to kind of make herself comfortable, while she was here. I was going to keep her for the weekend. Lo and behold, I realized while I was looking at her that she had actually picked up the remote control, tried to make a phone call, and took the phone and tried to change the channel. So I said, okay, well, we're going to have to see your doctor soon. So Monday, that next Monday, I took her to her doctor, and unfortunately, as a lot of doctors are nowadays, he sat in a chair at a computer with his back towards us, asking us questions and shooting off a list of things he needed us to do, tests, and he wanted us to have done, and places to go for CAT scans and x-rays and things. And not at one time at that point did he come over and examine her or listen to her lungs or get her vital signs or her on his own or anything. So after that Monday, I said, okay, no more of him. So I ended up calling around looking for a healthcare provider that specialized in elderly clients and patient with dementia, and I found one excellent gerontologist. The first one I found, and she was just great. She is tuned into her profession. Number one, she knows what she's talking about. She's a very hands-on care provider. She asks questions. She does a lot of observing. She asks questions of me and of my mom. And she's realistic about some of the things that we need to do or things that we don't need to do. And she's very easy for me to contact her, at least. And I'm very persistent about contacting healthcare providers, probably because I'm a nurse and I know how that goes. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. But we have a very good relationship, and she's very helpful. So I decided my mom's going to stay with me. Of course, I had to work full time, and I was in my late 50s at that point when she first came. So I decided I would just keep her here, make sure that she had things to throw in the microwave, while I was going to work, and I would call her. That worked for a little while. Then I realized I would come home, she hadn't eaten anything, and she was becoming a little bit more confused and not realizing that she had something to eat or where the kitchen was. So I said, okay, well, I'll just have my neighbor, who's wonderful, just stop in and check on her throughout the day while I'm at work. And that worked for a little while. My neighbor, it's wonderful. My mom loved her, and she still does. She would come and pop in and check on her and make sure that she was safe. I call them doing safety checks and things. Then I noticed that I would come home, my mom was becoming increasingly incontinent, and my neighbor, who did great at what she was doing for me, which was the safety checks, did not have a certification for hands-on care, so of course I didn't want her to do anything like that. So I decided to call the Department of Aging. Now, they were helpful and to a point. Now, number one, she doesn't have, she makes too much for Medicaid, so she only has Medicare. She did not have long-term health insurance. So with the Medicare she had, they were able to, number one, set me up with services so that I could receive a case of Depends and wipes and things like that for her throughout a month. And that was free. They paid for it. And also, they were there for me if I needed to have a home health care aide. Now, they had the way they set it up, I guess, for my mother's, the amount of money that my mother makes or whatever, Social Security, she could only afford 4 hours a week of a home health care aide. So, the Department of Aging had hooked me with an agency, and they sent someone out, but I don't know whether it was the agency that they hooked me up with or whatever. The owner of the agency kept changing healthcare providers, and which confused my mother even more. But a lot of them quit or whatever was going on. I ended up putting in a few nanny cams at that point just to see what was going on when they were here, because they were only here twice a week, and she was here the rest of the week by herself. Granted, I'm still working full time. I had to get up in the morning at 3 a.m. to get her together for the home health care agency for the days that she was alone. Make sure that she had everything that she needed. Everything was easily available for her. I'd put up boards all around the house, dry erase boards with her name on it, her age on it, the day, the weather, whatever was needed, who was coming that day, what was going on, and which was great because she, at this point, can still read very well, and she loves to read. So she would refer those boards often to kind of keep her abreast or keep her memory intact. I think it helped her out a lot. And when the girls got here, I would have a little book for them to, explain how her day was and what I expected of them for that day. That worked for a while, but then, I needed someone full-time. So once again, I went and looked for a home health agency. Now, granted, I had to pay for that out of my pocket because my mom, she had her own bills, and then I had my bills. But I still had to pay for that. That ran almost $2,000 a month, which was extremely expensive for me, as far as I'm concerned. But the agency I picked was wonderful. I had found them on care.com. Luckily, it was, one of the maybe the 2 or 3 choices that I had interviewed, people I interviewed. And this young lady had agency. She sent out wonderful healthcare providers, and I was very picky about them. I needed them to be vaccinated for COVID, and I interviewed them before they came, although she had already interviewed them for me. So, and they started, and they did really well. It was just very expensive, and it was wearing me out, that expense. And then, of course, when I came home, I still had to do what I could for her. So it just kind of wore me out. And I do remember at one point, before they came, when my neighbor was here, I can remember, I had decided to have Meals on Wheels come in. A lot of things you have to look into yourself because they don't come looking for you, that's for sure, for services. Meals on Wheels sent a gentleman here it was 3 days a week because I had to pay for it, for her. And they would bring a hot meal and I think some cold supplies with that too for her to, cold foods and things for her to eat. That time her dementia was getting a little bit off there, basically. She was getting to be herself with her no-filter self, shall I say. And the gentleman that they sent, let's say, had an alternate lifestyle, which she had a real problem with. And one time he came and she would not accept the food, and then she really just wore him out about how fat he was, and she thought he was eating her food, and she should probably have gotten more food, but he probably ate it before he got here. And then she went on about just so on and so forth. So when he left that evening, they called me. I was still at work. The president, I guess it was somebody high up because she seemed very authoritative. She explained to me that there was no way they could send him or anybody else back because my mother had threatened to call the police, and she didn't think the services fit my mother. So that's into that. Now, with the home health agency coming and staying, and that worked out. But after, I don't know, a year or so, I just realized it was just too overwhelming and too expensive. So I decided that I turned 62 last October, that I was going to stay home and take care for myself. So, which is working out very well, basically. Thank God, by that point, by October, I had put nanny cams everywhere, which my kids used to tease me about, but I have nanny cams everywhere, catching every eye and point of view and everything of what's going on with her, whether I'm home or not. If I'm in my room, I'll look when Nanny came to check on her at night or whatever, and that works out pretty well. Thank God I have three great sons. My youngest son just happens to live around the corner from me, and he's been helping me a lot with my mom. So him and I do share power of attorney. He has financial, and I have medical power of attorney, and that's helping out a lot. I need that extra help, that partner there. One more thing too. When she first got here, I have a cat. His name is Inspector Charlie, my little buddy. When my mom first got here, she knew I had the cat, but when she got here and she realized that he was living here, so she said, and every once in a while she said, I don't like that cat. I said, Mom, well, he lives here. Then she got to the point when her dementia started progressing, she was saying things like, whose fucking, excuse my language, whose fucking cat is this? So I did, went to Chewy.com and ordered him a very large cat cage, which has 3 little levels to it. And, he could have his food and things in one level and it's a litter box, and he can, sleep in the little hammocks and things. And that worked out because when the provider came, I could put him in there while I was at work during the day, and the provider could get around without him getting on her nerves or her asking who he was. So that worked out pretty well. So as I said, I retired in October, which I'm actually loving it, and thank God for the years I put in that I was able to retire with my Social Security and my pension, and was able to stay home taking care of her, which I'm doing now, and it's working out pretty good. I set up a schedule, although I still feel like I'm working full-time, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take care of her, and it is a full-time job. I have a schedule for her, which not so much on a time schedule, but things that we need to do throughout the day. And some days she's herself, and she'll get up and do what she can for herself, and then some days she is just not, 100% not. The dementia has her at a new zone, and I'll know when I get up every morning, I'll know what type of day I'm going to have, and if I open up the door, once again, excuse my language, and she'll look at me and she'll say, well, bitch, what the fuck are you going to do for me today? So I'll know the type of day I'm going to have. But, it works well because, thank God, of my nursing background, I'm able to, zone in on things that she needs. And thank God for Amazon, because they help me out a lot. I get a lot of things off Amazon that even Medicaid can't seem to get to me on time. So that works out really well. And she has activities, too, that we do every day, or try to, basically. She loves to paint and to color, so I did get her a little easel for Christmas a couple years ago, and she'll paint when she can, but she loves to color. She colors every day, and I'm very grateful that Amazon has a memory section on their site for people with dementias, like a memory merchandise, and I'm able to get her things, puzzles for people with memory loss or dementia, or little gadgets for her hands to keep her little hands busy, and multiple coloring books and things that she loves. So that works out. And I just wanted to share that with you, and I have so much more to share with you. Some of it is just so hilarious, you just can't make it up, just dealing with her. But it's probably going to be more helpful for me just to ventilate and to get it off my shoulders, some of the stresses and things that I go through dealing with her. And also, it may help someone else. So hopefully you can tune into my YouTube channel, and I'll share some things that I'm going through. And if you have any questions or whatever, I'll find a way for you to get in contact with me, and I can help you hook up with some resources and things. So God bless, and thank you.